This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, we welcome you to a special Saturday night current events edition of Wrestling Insiders. I'm Dan Mirade, joined down south in southwestern Connecticut by a man whose socks know no bounds, the prodigy, Mr. Matt Degnan. Matt, welcome.
Well, they're not on right now, but
Now you've been going bare the past few episodes. Is there a reason? Is it still unseasonably warm down in southwestern Connecticut that you don't need these socks?
well, I don't know. Usually when I'm home, I don't like wearing socks, and I'm still in bed right now. So
All right. Well, I wish I could say the same, but you know what? Work needs to be done here at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts. The zip code of champions 02176. Before we began, fans, I'm going to toss it to you. I don't know if I want to use the word attacked, but as opposed to using a regular phone call to reach out to Matt, I used FaceTime audio, which I was told is a much clearer version for us to converse about the world of professional wrestling, and he was disgusted with me. So I don't know.
I don't know how it's clear. I mean, it's still technically a phone call.
Yeah.
I don't know how the phone can change into better quality.
Well, it's two different platforms. That would be how I'd describe it in my uneducated brain when it comes to this. I don't know. It may sound absolutely no different. It could sound worse. And then people will complain that Dan really is an idiot. I don't know. But I wanted to go with what the cool kids use, which was a little FaceTime audio as opposed to just a regular phone call as we've done these other podcast-style episodes. So we'll see how it goes. What else can we really do?
I mean, it does sound pretty good. But
Yeah. Well, you're putting me over now. All right. I like it.
Yeah.
I don't get up early just for anybody in the morning, unlike our great fans and friends around the country, around the globe that'll be joining us a little later tonight when we rehash this episode of SmackDown. But before we begin, Matt, as I was telling you, baby, it is going to be a week here in Boston wrestling. We're just days away from the 19th anniversary of Boston Wrestling Sports, the Millennium Wrestling Federation, probably our biggest video production week in company history. Are you kidding me, folks? In addition to the 10 a.m. YouTube clips we have popping up, in addition to the podcast-style episodes analyzing WWE Monday Night Raw, AEW Dynamite, WWE NXT, and SmackDown on Fox, this week you can look forward to Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas, who shoots on Roman Reigns' heel turn, the Paul Heyman effect, and Brock Lesnar is a free agent. It premieres Tuesday night at 9 p.m. It's available now on the Patreon. If you bleed Boston wrestling like we do, head on over to the Patreon and subscribe. We have Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty as Marty Jannetty and I continue his no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll look at professional wrestling in the 80s and 90s, continuing our in-depth look at Marty's early days in the WWF in 1988. That episode premieres Thursday night at 9 p.m. Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays with our frenemy, HBK himself. Mr. John Cena Sr. is back in studio giving his blunt views on the king of sports professional wrestling. As always, Fabulous Fridays will follow SmackDown at 10 p.m. Friday night. We had our premiere. I was very impressed with some of the fan feedback and some of the guests that chimed in on the live chat. Then this coming Sunday night, myself, the prodigy Matt Degnan, and maybe even a sock or two, will be live in studio for a WWE Clash of Champions Gold Rush watch-along, as you call it, or a watch-along.
The socks will be ready, baby.
The socks will be ready. Then after the watch-along, we're going to have yet another Wrestling Insider Special Edition.
At TGI Fridays.
Well, no, even before that, after the Clash, WWE Hall of Famer Brutus, the Barber Beefcake, will be back in studio. Folks, is that a busy week or is that a busy week?
It's a pretty busy week right there.
It's a pretty busy week. But on to the task at hand. We got a little thunder, baby. We're not talking about that garbage WCW show from the late 90s. We're talking about the Thunderdome from Amway Arena in sunny Orlando, Florida, where I was supposed to be tentatively today for that top secret meeting I hinted at that didn't wind up being so top secret, but I guess when I go now may be top secret. But it was a hellacious 2 hours before John Cena Sr.'s Fabulous Friday kicked off. You know what I noticed for the first time? Maybe it was new, maybe I just didn't pay attention to it, but I like when the show began, there was that thunder, there was a little boom.
Oh, yeah, they started doing that, giving it its own kind of little open a couple weeks ago.
So I'm just behind the curve a little then.
Oh, not too much, only about a week or two, but...
Well, I like the little boom. I
like it. Yeah.
And it was all downhill from there.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but we'll continue. I know you took meticulous notes. Let's see what we got, baby, from 2 hours on the Fox network from last night.
I'll tell you, for 2 hours, I think we got more to talk about than Raw. It seems SmackDown is usually better, has more interesting stuff than Raw. Raw is just a lot of filler bullshit that no one cares about.
And they don't have to stretch it out as much, where it's a nice 2 hour package.
Yeah. Well, the show opened with an episode of The Dirt Sheet with Miz and John Morrison. This led to Otis attacking Miz because Miz said Mandy Rose was cheating on Otis with the Raw superstar.
Oh, wait a minute.
And then backstage after the segment, Miz and Morrison seem to have a bigger plan behind all of their chicanery. Miz and Morrison have told Otis if he doesn't forfeit his Money in the Bank briefcase, then they'll bring lawyers in to sue him for, I guess, violating their rights or something. I don't really like the whole lawsuit part of it because it really doesn't make sense. I like that, there is a bigger plan. Sometimes, sometimes these angles are one-dimensional and don't really have too much, backing to them. But I like that they're starting to think a little bit, even though it might not be good thinking, they're starting to think.
Well, that may be one way to describe it. I appreciate the homage to the Fink they have in the Dirt Sheets Open, where they still include the late, great WWE Hall of Famer Howard Finkel's voice in the introduction to the segment. I think the humor from two guys in their 40s is a little childish. It reminds me almost of DX when they reunited about, what that would have been now, my gosh, about 15 years ago, when they were trying to be cool kids in their 20s when they were in their 40s. Otis and Tucker came out, again, which is fine for childish humor. I guess if it's a show aimed at children's humor, it was a fun way to open the show. My only thought on that is, when this is a program that Fox is trying to advertise on primetime NFL football games, I don't know if the Dirt Sheet and Otis and, some of the other things I've noted would be the way I'd want to go to try and advertise a product they're spending an awful lot of money on. But like you said, they did put some thought into this. Apparently there is a big swerve to come on who Mandy Rose may be cheating on Otis with. Do you have a feeling that this may all be tied up in a neat bow and resolved by the time they do the 2020 draft within a month or so? I think that's how it'll end.
Well, it might be Dolph Ziggler because Dolph Ziggler moved over to Raw if they want to keep that bullshit going with him.
Maybe.
Who knows? Because Ziggler and Miz are pretty good friends outside of WWE. So who knows? But as I said, I like that they're thinking. It might not be good, but at least they're trying to put some effort into it rather than just, putting on some bullshit. But I think Miz and Morrison came off as kind of cheesy and corny, and they weren't really funny. Sometimes they are funny. But in this case, it was kind of stupid. And then Miz getting ripped down to his, underwear, which I thought was kind of childish.
It wasn't exactly Ric Flair in '86.
No. But, I don't know. And then bringing in the lawyers, I don't know.
Well, again, it's the mentality that you're dealing with. I also think that it lacks a little common sense that, oh, my God, Otis and Mandy Rose have been broken up. How have they been broken up? I mean, if this was, let's per se, a real-life couple, just because they're not together for 2 hours each week at work means it's the end of the couple. You know what I mean? But I guess why think when you watch a wrestling show?
And then they have all these other couples who are together, and they've portrayed them on, like, look at Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they've showed them as a couple, and Becky Lynch is away, and they had her forfeit the title on TV. I don't know. They just, some things they don't put 2 and 2 together. Sometimes they put 2 and 2 together and they get 5. But, you know.
That's a good way to put it.
Sometimes they get 3 and come up with not enough.
I guess, in the end, I wasn't overly impressed with this segment. They tried to put some thought into it, but I guess I was confused by some of the thoughts.
Yeah, so it's just the opening wasn't really that good to me. It didn't, and then they had the commercial break, and then they came back with Miz and Morrison backstage. It just, it didn't really go for an open of the show, in my opinion.
Well, this wasn't the most, as we'll see in the results, this wasn't the most stacked episode of Friday Night SmackDown one has ever seen.
Yeah. We'll get into the next segment here, as we don't want to shit on Otis and Miz and Morrison too much. Cesaro defeated Gran Metalik. It is a decent match, but most of the focus was on Lince Dorado and Kalisto outside the ring, teasing a Lucha House Party breakup. Are they going to break up yet another team? What do they have, 2 tag teams or 3 tag teams on SmackDown right now?
Well, you're right, but where they're a trio, I could see them losing one. The buildup was almost as dramatic as, was Elizabeth going to go with Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage back in '89 on whose advice Gran Metalik was going to take? I don't think there was much of an investment from the fans, because I tell you this, I couldn't tell you the difference between Gran Metalik and Lince Donato if you put a 50 on the table. I know they exist. I'm not sure which is which. I know Kalisto.
I mean, I guess if you could part Kalisto, but then, if you're going to piece him off, like John Cena Sr.
Johnny's piece, yeah.
Yeah. What are you going to have? Because obviously he's going to get some sort of push or some sort of match or something, because you're not just going to break him off to have him do nothing. So is he going to go to the Intercontinental title picture and have a feud with AJ Styles if he wins? We'll get into that later.
Well, I'll say this, Kalisto, he did have that nice little run as the United States champion back in, that would have been, 2015 into 16?
And then it was all right, but then he got killed by Rusev. My God. And that, what was that? At Extreme Rules or Payback? I don't know when that was.
It was one of the post-WrestleMania pay-per-views. Yeah, you're
right
about that.
But he got killed. And then Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro, they're going to defend their SmackDown tag titles against Lucha House Party at Clash of Champions.
Well, yet another reason to join us for the watch-along.
I mean, obviously, Nakamura and Cesaro are going to win. I think that Kalisto and the other two are going to have some sort of disagreement or miscommunication, and that's going to lead to the end of the match. And then Kalisto's going to walk off, and, they're going to have their little moment after. But I think that's how that one will end.
The Spanish Mega Powers could explode at Clash of the Champions Gold Rush, Sunday night, September the 27th.
Maybe that should be their tag team name, the Spanish Mega Powers.
I wouldn't go that route, but that's just one man's opinion.
Even though I believe they're all Puerto Rican, but...
Well, I apologize to all three of them if that's the case.
No. A moment of bliss with Nikki Cross. This led to Lacey Evans coming out, and then it led to Nikki Cross versus Lacey Evans, which I could really do without. Nikki Cross defeated Lacey Evans. Part of this match I didn't understand was the hand sanitizer to the face wasn't a disqualification.
I just thought the segment itself was just all kinds of bad. It was the second interview segment in a half hour of a Friday night primetime show aimed at kids. I thought it was bad positioning. The interview was slow, it was awful, and it sucked. I know Alexa is kind of like half dead right now with what they're trying to do with her and The Fiend and Strowman, but nothing about it made me want to see the match they were trying to push. It was boring and it was rehearsed that I wanted to see Nikki Cross and Bayley less. And I think Nikki Cross is one of the better female talents. Lacey Evans, when she came out to try and save the garbage, I thought she did a good job. I think Lacey is a very solid promo. She presents her gimmick as believable as possible. She looks like an athlete. I don't know why WWE ever turned her babyface. She's perfect in the role as a heel, as the classy lady. I thought she was presented well on this episode of SmackDown. The only drawback to Lacey is when the bell rings, I don't know if it's because she's a little tall, but at times she can come off a little awkward. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
I think she's another one of the people that they rushed to the main roster. She didn't have that much time in NXT. I mean, when you think back in NXT, what did she really do? I don't think she ever competed for the NXT Women's title. She never really had any memorable feuds.
Well, you're right about that, but I'll say this. I thought her introduction to the main roster was great. I would love how they'd have her just do that. They'd play her song, she'd walk out for 30 seconds, and then she'd walk to the back and she'd be done. It was
good.
Short, sweet, and to the point.
You could do that. It's like when they had Elias walking around the arena with his guitar looking like a goof.
We don't need Elias.
Yeah. But Evans got taken out by Alexa Bliss after the match outside the ring via the sister Abigail, which is obviously Bray Wyatt's move. And then you had Alexa.
You're talking bad D-level movie horror acting at that point. That's really, really, really bad. They need to get that one in the bud.
And then you have Alexa staring off. She looks like a total idiot who just looks so fake and just awful. The way she's just looking off into the distance. It's just so stupid. But
if it's an attempt to appeal to elementary school kids, I guess it's fine. But as someone that is extremely nudging 40 at this point by a day or two, it certainly was insulting my intelligence as someone that just wanted to watch a professional wrestling show. I don't see the point in it. I don't see the interest in any age demographic of Alexa Bliss being possessed by the Fiend.
Is your birthday the 21st?
You're very good. You're very good.
All right.
And you want to know something else? I'm going to tell you another fun fact. It's the 21st every year on top of that.
Wow. Even with the leap day?
Yeah, it doesn't change because of the leap. But I want to leap back for a second because, again, I was told after listening to one of our AEW reviews that my notes should be a little bit more meticulous, so I've spent a little more time trying to jot down everything. In between the Grand Metalik match and the horrible Moment of Bliss interview segment, there was that Matt Riddle bro promo.
Oh, I was going to put this in. I did not want to. I wouldn't even consider that a segment at all. It was just one of those stupid things that brought to you by Progressive, the match flow, and he's talking about bro.
Yeah.
It's not a promo. It's not a segment. It does nothing negative or it's just get it off.
Well, I don't know if I'd go that far because it stood out to me for all the wrong reasons. If you remember on this week's AEW NXT podcast, I was very high on the Taz Ricky Starks promo that they put together, and probably the same amount of time as this Matt Riddle bro foolishness. And again, to me, it's another example of a great talent that's pushing 40 years old, made out to look like an idiot, and after watching the segment, I have less interest in watching the person in a wrestling match than I did before the promo aired. So all the wrong material if they're trying to enhance numbers across the board. I know Matt looks young, younger than his real age. I know he is a tremendous athlete that can get in there and go. But if you're going to present him as an idiot, you get to the point of fans aren't going to take what he does seriously. And lo and behold, we'll see what happens on Matt's next great adventure. He started off with a bang on SmackDown and that immediate little mini program he had with AJ Styles. And then I think he did something with Corbin, and then my mind goes blank at that point.
If you're going to present him as an idiot, he's going to die not literally, but he's going to die very soon on the main roster. It's just that's why they always say when these NXT guys get called up to the main roster, they just look like idiots. But sometimes these guys who are on the main roster that get brought up from NXT, as we just talked about with Lacey Evans, they get brought up to the main roster way too soon. I don't know. I don't think that's the case at this point, but I'm just stating he was, only in NXT for a year, and he really didn't do too much down there other than a forgettable tag title run.
I don't think he's out of place in the ring. I just think his presentation is that he's presented as a fool. And why do fans, especially when you're trying to appeal to a younger demographic that wants cool, why give them fool instead of cool? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there's enough fools to laugh at. I don't think people necessarily want to watch a professional wrestling show to laugh for 2 hours. I know the formula worked for The Rock. The Rock was the exception to the rule. The phrase that's been used going back decades and decades and decades in this great sport is that funny doesn't equal money. WWE's sports entertainment formula of the past 19 years since the bell rang at WrestleMania 17 has largely been not a peak, but a valley that continues to go down and down and down and down. And the only person the joke has been on is the fan base that is evaporated, and the company itself, and it probably at this point, not millions, but billions of dollars they've lost out on in different forms of revenue. So I hope they found these episodes funny, because I certainly haven't, especially as a WWE stockholder.
A video package or promo I liked was the video package narrated by Paul Heyman that was shown about Roman Reigns and the Samoan Dynasty. I thought the video hit all the right spots and was good for the build of the match, between him and Jey Uso. I knew you liked it because I texted you about it.
Yeah, in my notes, just excellent, excellent, excellent. Paul Heyman isn't a sports entertainer. He's a professional wrestling personality. Paul Heyman narrated an excellent piece on the Anoa'i family, the Roman and the Uso dynamic, that actually made me interested in a SmackDown vendetta. It actually made me interested in a WWE pay-per-view match. Instead of the complete and utter bullshit that was presented tongue-in-cheek or in a lousy fashion or in a boring fashion the previous hour, this is what you try to get the fans to do. Be interested in what you're presenting. And did they do that? To me, yes. They made me interested in the Uso-Roman match at the pay-per-view. They made me interested to see what the dynamic was going to be like in the main event a little later in the show. So out of an hour, I guess at this point, I applaud WWE for coming up with a 3-minute promo package that was very, very, very well done.
Another promo that was actually pretty good until
really?
It got ruined was Sasha Banks addressing her situation with Bayley after she was attacked a few weeks ago, but was then attacked again during the promo, which that promo was actually at the Performance Center. It's just an overdone segment. I mean, you're going to have Bayley attack Sasha, yet again within 2 weeks. And they stated the promo was at the Performance Center. Why was Bayley over there? It didn't really make sense. Why did Bayley go all the way over there? How did she know she was doing the promo from there? I don't know. And then she had the neck brace on, and then she attacked her, and then they had all these idiots standing around her just staring at her after she got attacked. I don't know.
It was.
And they also brought Sasha back way too early. I would have had her out a couple months, maybe come back at the Rumble. I know you hate it. I'm saying have her come back at the Rumble, win it, challenge Bayley at WrestleMania for the title. Long-term booking right there. Don't have, Sasha come back in 2 weeks, and then what are they going to do? Face each other inside Hell in a Cell? That's just a waste. You could do that as a top-notch match at WrestleMania.
First of all, it would not be a top-notch match at WrestleMania. It could be a match at WrestleMania. And I think your logic is definitely applies, and I think it makes sense. It's a feud that no one is going to sink their teeth into. That promo last night, it was horribly forced. Sasha came off as phony. If she was healthy enough to make it to the PC, why couldn't she have made it another mile or two to the Thunderdome at Amway Arena? The feud is tired. The feud is boring. It's an uninteresting friendship. If it was an all-women's television show, maybe this would be of interest. But to present them as if they're the modern day, Steve Austin and Bret Hart back in '97 trying to go tit for tat. There's a lot of great talent that's not on television this week. There's a lot of great talent that got released and is unemployed back in the spring. And to have to sit there and watch this rehearsed, phony garbage, it's a joke pushing it in advertising on NFL football games on Fox. Fox should be ashamed of themselves for wasting their advertising time pushing this nonsense on NFL football games when they have so many, real deal athletes on that roster. It's a joke. I have zero interest in seeing it. The Hell in the Cell match, I'm sure years from now will be pushed as some kind of a classic as Bayley pulls out some of her Macho Man elbows and Sasha goes to try and reenact some of her great Eddie Guerrero moves like she's a kid in a middle school talent show. But I have nothing against Sasha Banks and Bayley personally. I don't even know Bayley personally. But as far as their presentation goes, it's just awful. It makes me want to change the channel. If we weren't trying to do a recap of the show, I definitely would not watch, as I have less than zero interest in this.
It's a channel changer for a lot of people.
Yes, it is.
And then the next segment, or actually a match, AJ Styles defeated Sami Zayn via a roll-up. Jeff Hardy then came out and attacked both men with a ladder. This set up the triple threat ladder match for the Intercontinental title for Clash of Champions. I thought it was good that, another match in this, triangle feud for the title didn't end in a disqualification with a run-in. But, I think we could have got here a little sooner, other than doing, the same matches for how many weeks and then having them all end in, distraction or something like that. It's like all this bullshit with Keith Lee and Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre. And Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre are supposed to face each other on Raw this upcoming Monday again. So it's just how many times you're going to have distraction finishes.
With
especially
the same people over and over and over and over again.
And then at what point, I don't know. I'm thinking it more of in a storyline way. At what point, do you go out to do your match and you're not engaged because someone's going to run in? That's looking at it from a storyline point of view. But I think this triple threat ladder match could actually be very, very good.
It has the potential to be an excellent match. On my notes from the SmackDown presentation, I had Sami Zayn equals the personification of nobody cares. You had the referee in there that looked like, not to be confused with our friend at TGI Fridays in Peabody, Mass., but the WWE female John Candy lookalike, who is a very unrealistic authority figure. I do not understand the concept of having a woman referee an athletic men's match / fight. Not because it's a sexist point of view, it's because what happens if it gets physical? You're going to have a man accidentally hit a female referee. I do not like it. I hate that presentation. The match was fine. Zayn, if you were blind, isn't that bad, but he just looks like he belongs in a recycling bin out with Oscar the Grouch, compared to two guys that can actually generate ticket sales and merchandise, that being AJ Styles and Jeff Hardy, two high-quality talents that it was good to see on SmackDown compared to what had been a pretty rough show up until that point.
Sami Zayn, he was pretty hot when he came to the main roster in 2015, 2016.
Yeah, he looked great. His little cabbie's hat.
No, I'm just, he got some good reactions, but after 2016, he fell apart. He had that feud with Braun Strowman where he just got embarrassed. He hasn't done anything that's, and then the only title he's won, Intercontinental, is a 3-on-1 handicap match at, Elimination Chamber? And
I believe so.
Yeah. he's done nothing to make me want to watch at all. And then he had
Zero
that
appeal to that guy, to me. Maybe he was better under the mask, under his former persona. I'm not too familiar with his body of work. But as far as Sami Zayn and NXT and WWE, I have another one that I have just less than zero interest in watching. There is no credibility there. He tries. I'll say that just about everybody on the roster. They give it 100%. Maybe a lot of it is what they are given content-wise to produce, but as far as what I see, there is nothing that I ever want to see again from Sami Zayn. Ever.
I think he's a decent wrestler. It's just he has nothing to back his character at all. He's just a bland character who can, wrestle pretty good. That's pretty much it. I mean, how many guys on this roster can say the same? Like Chad Gable, he's a guy that can wrestle, but he just does nothing for me character-wise. I can't get into anything he does. He could put on a good match, but are you going to care at the end of the night? Not really.
I've enjoyed Gable's matches. If I never saw him again, I wouldn't lose much sleep. But Sami Zayn is someone that I just want to change the channel when I see come out. I have just zero interest in him. Big E beat up a security guard in the loading dock of the arena. It seems to happen a lot on those WWE shows.
He put him through the windshield of a car. What I really liked is that they showed his mean streak and what he's really capable of. He's not just a dancing fool, and he can actually, kick some ass. Because, every week he comes out and he dances and he swivels the hips and he's sitting on the ring or the ring ropes with his, his nuts out. But I mean, they showed, what he used to be doing in 2013, 2012, back when he first came up and he was with, Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, and he was a badass. And when he was Intercontinental Champion, beating the shit out of people, I like that they showed, a mean streak of his. Sometimes these guys, all they do is they're presented as fools, but, I like that they showed his other side.
And not wrong by any stretch of the imagination, but after presenting the man as a complete and utter idiot and a fool for the past 5 years, fans are not going to gravitate towards that aggressive, serious style of him. You have one segment where they did something right. You have 5 years where it was presented wrong. So it's going to take an awful long learning curve for fans to be retaught what Big E is all about, and it just won't happen. It's an unfortunate and I'm not going to say that Big E is a failure by any stretch of the imagination. New Day is one of the great successes of the past decade, but as far as to try and take that man as a serious threat, as a singles babyface, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I think the way it might be presented is, he has that kind of mean streak side, but he uses it when he needs to type of thing. Like if you get him really pissed, then, like putting him through a windshield, that's going to piss him off. But in a regular feud, he's not going to do, I don't know. That might
and
be
that's
how they...
just moronic.
Yeah, I don't know.
And a reason why people won't invest their time in watching WWE television.
Yeah, I mean, if you got the mean streak and you got that, vicious side of you, use it. You know what I mean? Like this whole Demon Finn Balor thing. I think it's an all right concept. But if you're going to be better as the Demon every match, why not use it every time? You know what I mean?
You'd never lose, yeah.
Same thing with Bray Wyatt and The Fiend. If The Fiend makes you better, I get that The Fiend takes over Bray Wyatt's body and everything like that. But still, it's, if you got it, use it.
They have such a thin roster, sometimes they have to go with multiple personalities, as sad as it is to say. And after all of those releases back in April, what was already a roster that was far too thin with far little variety, it's even worse now. So you have to go with, these, I guess, multiple spectrums of the personalities. But as far as Big E is a dangerous, aggressive man, I don't think the fans are going to buy it because he's been presented as a goof for too long. And he's played the role of a goof well. He's made himself a lot of money. Again, New Day, one of the great successes of the past decade in WWE, but you're just not going to be able to snap your fingers and all of a sudden he comes out in his hot pink T-shirt and is a dangerous man in disguise ready to attack the scally cap wearing Sheamus on the loading dock at the Thunderdome. That's not how it works.
It's like with or without the piece. It's two different personalities.
Well, maybe Johnny needs a hat like that. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. And then in the main event, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso defeated Sheamus and Baron Corbin in a Samoan street fight. I mean, it happened last week, so it really didn't, pique my interest. The match was only about 7 or 8 minutes long, if that. Some decent action. I mean, obviously, if you put a street fight, gimmick to it, it's going to have, the chair shots, the kendo sticks, the table spots and stuff like that. So there's going to be some good action.
You can't have a wrestling show in 2020 for whatever reason without a kendo stick under the ring. I have no idea why or how that ever happened, other than the Sandman and Steve Blackman back in the late 90s using kendo sticks. But I guess the ring crew liked having them around so much. Maybe they, on lunch breaks, they wanted to do a little Star Wars action with the lightsabers, and they'd have these kendo sticks they dueled with, and they said, well, you know what? There might be a street fight tonight. Why don't we leave a few under the ring?
You know what I like, what they have under the ring, is when they take out the handcuffs. It's stupid shit they find under the ring. It's like, why are there handcuffs down there? Why are there kendo sticks? I guess tables and ladders you can kind of get away with, like setting up the ring. And
yeah, those are things. As someone that's actually rented a ring and used a ring for live events, those are things that can come in handy, a ladder and a table.
Yeah, those you can get away with. But when you have stupid stuff under there, it makes no sense. I get, you want to make the matches extreme, but there's definitely not as much. Or when they would have the metal garbage cans or the pans and stuff like that, or the thumbs.
Pans are always a big help when you're trying to set up a wrestling ring.
And the thumbtacks. Why do you need thumbtacks?
I tell you, the most realistic one that has been done in recent time to show attention to detail was the Triple H Batista match at WrestleMania 35. When they went under that ring, look at what they took out. An actual toolbox with tools that you would use to assemble a wrestling ring. Believe it or not. Look at the attention to detail there. It actually came across as believable.
Well, they used the toolbox at Hell in a Cell last year with Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins.
But that ended with a big giant mallet, didn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't see too many of those under the rings that I've rented.
Well, we'll get into the grading of SmackDown unless you have anything else to add about this big main event. That
for what it was,
the second week in a row.
I like the main event. I'm really big on the fact that they're trying to do something new and different with Jey Uso instead of having him just sit on the sideline while the brother is injured. Baron Corbin, I continue to think he's underrated in his role. I don't think he's a main event guy. I think he's an upper mid-card guy that because fans maybe dislike the personality, maybe don't give the guy enough credit. I know Baron Corbin is not a big fan of this program as he blocked the account after John Cena Sr. unloaded on him a couple of years ago on a non-Fabulous Friday version of the John Cena Sr. incarnation of Wrestling Insiders. Baron was a little sensitive about that, but I thought Roman's facials at the end of the match were great, but then as Jimmy Uso walked away, he was all hyped, he was all happy. Then all of a sudden, Roman just turns to a complete and utter scowl. I think there was too quick of a change of emotion. I would have rather have seen the show end with Roman kind of like, you know what, hey, he's my cousin, we're going to wrestle, I'm going to win in the end, but hey.
Nah, I don't know.
In the end, it was too quick of a change of personality for me.
No, I like it. He shows, he's all happy and stuff in front of his face. But right when he turns that back, he snaps on that mode like, my title's on the line. I came back. It's, my island, as he says. I like that quick change, showing, he thinks I'm all happy and, we're family and stuff like that. But when it's game time, it's game time.
So do you want to know the problem with that?
What?
Next week on SmackDown, even though Jey Uso will have the benefit of being able to watch it on television, he will not react, comment, or even think about that facial expression to end the show, and that's the problem with WWE in 2020.
Well, the thing is, do they go back and watch it?
I would. If I was a wrestler, I would want to know how my show ended. I would want to know what my pay-per-view opponent, how he may have reacted after I walked away, after we came away with a big win on a televised main event. I'm looking at it from the point of view of a televised professional wrestler. Why wouldn't you go back and look at it?
I get that. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Oh no, if you're going to keep going on about this, we could talk about it. But I was going to get into my big grade for SmackDown.
No, please. There's really not much more to add at this point.
I had it at a 5 out of 10. I thought the second hour was better than the first hour, not by much. Maybe a 4 or 5. I gave 5 just to be generous. But again, just another bland show. Nothing that jumps out at me. Nothing that jumps off the script for me. But
I must have been feeling very generous because I put overall 6, and after we just rehashed it, absolutely not. I don't think I could go any higher than a 4. There was just way too much garbage and filler on this show, a lack of common sense on this show. For everything I liked, I still found negatives with the presentation of it. And if I'm going to be honest, I would give it a 4. Everybody tried hard. I liked the main event. I liked the segment with Paul Heyman trying to put over the Uso-Roman dynamic. Other than that, there was very little that I found interesting or believable on this show. And I think even a 4 at this point is kind of kind. I don't know what I was thinking with the 6. I must have been in a good mood. I must have been talking to DB. I don't know.
That's why I said 5 is being generous. I'd probably give it a 4. SmackDown is starting to, it used to be not that bad, but now it's just starting to get repetitive every single week. And you could say that for Raw as well. And NXT is starting to get like that. Nothing original, nothing new, just the same bullshit.
Well, again, when you release 20 some odd athletes back in April, it really takes away from the overall presentation. And it hurts. It makes it very stale and very boring. There's a lot less variety. And then when you take into account some of the tag teams that get injured on top of it, there's no tag team division on either show right now. It's a mess. It really just needs to be blown up from the bottom to the top.
Blown up, baby. There's not many news and notes because we're basically like 12 hours removed from SmackDown, so there's really nothing coming out of the show that's newsworthy. Even before Friday, it just, there's really not much news on SmackDown. The only note I have here is former WWE Women's Champion Melina is returning to WWE soon, as multiple websites and reporters have heard about. What do you think about Melina coming back soon?
Well, she has said that is not necessarily the case.
How many times do you see that happening? Oh, I'm not signed. What do you think about Edge? Not going to happen. I'm not coming back. It's a work. They all say that. Oh, I'm not under contract. Oh, I can't comment. They do it all the time. Oh, I'm actually still under contract with TNA or some stupid bullshit, Or they'll do an interview. Oh,
with the number of bodies they've released, and considering Melina is a little long in the tooth, I would be surprised if, and again, I could be wrong. This is just an assumption. I wouldn't be surprised if there have been these negotiations, which he's admitted to, that if it is for maybe just a very short run, maybe an appearance or two. I don't know why WWE would be looking to bring back someone at that age.
She's 41. Like you said, I can see her coming back. You got Mickie James, who's at the end of her career. I could see them bringing Melina back on like a 2-year deal, Melina, their women's division is thin. I could see, they do have that women's battle royal for NXT on Wednesday. Maybe we see Melina show up in that. I'm just trying to think of what they could possibly be using her for. Maybe she shows up in that battle royal. Maybe
they want Batista to come back, and maybe they figure that'll help the melting pot with that. Who knows?
Yeah. Maybe they bring her back. The women's divisions are pretty slim. You got Charlotte out, you got Becky out, you got Sasha and Bayley doing their thing on SmackDown. Maybe they want Melina to come back and face Asuka after Zelina Vega. I don't know, but both women's champions are in feuds right now. You got Asuka starting her thing with Zelina Vega. You got Bayley doing her thing with Sasha, and she's going to face Nikki Cross at Clash of Champions. I don't know, but even if say Melina does go to SmackDown and she starts her thing with Bayley. Melina's not going to take the title, and it's not going to be a long feud because Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to have their moment at Hell in a Cell or whatever pay-per-view they want to do that at. Maybe
even if you take this at face value, she's not going to be debuting imminently. She still has to go through medical tests in Pittsburgh and so on long before she'd be able to.
Well, the reports that have been out have said that she's going to return very, very soon. And usually that means within a few weeks, which is what people said within the next few weeks she might debut. But going back to, Sasha Banks, maybe she does the run-in at Clash of Champions and maybe she costs Bayley the belt and Nikki Cross wins the title. And then we have Nikki Cross versus, Alexa Bliss for the title inside Hell in a Cell. I don't know. I'm just, all right, Alexa, quiet.
You got the other Alexa going.
Yeah, I got that one.
And I don't want to see either of them. How about that?
I'm with you on that one, but they want this whole women's evolution stuff. But, I wouldn't mind seeing Melina back. I haven't seen her wrestle in WWE since, 2010?
It's been a while for Melina.
Yeah. But, at 41, what she's looking for is the payday. But
maybe she's looking for Big Dave. I don't know.
He's off doing movies.
Well, maybe that'll be a way to get him to come back. No. She's ready to go back to the galaxy, baby. Yeah. She's got her guardian.
You want to move into viewership? Do you have any more notes on Melina?
No, that's more than enough on Melina.
The viewership, which actually just came in for SmackDown last night, was 1,954,000.
Well,
it's not 5 million.
It's not good. It could be. It's not record-setting low, so I guess that's the positive. But could be a lot better, and it needs a lot of work, a lot of improvement. But again, people need patience. Anytime you're going to see a turnaround, you will not see monumental jumps week to week. It's incremental, and hopefully we continue to see small little improvements until the next big thing catches on. What that is, with the patience they have, the presentation they have, I don't know what it would take to come at this point. I have a few ideas in mind, but I keep those to myself until I actually get the paycheck. It's difficult to watch right now. I'll continue.
People think they're going to jump like 1 million viewers in a night.
It's never going to happen. Outside of one of those specials when you bring back 20 former stars and you build it up for a month. Okay, for 1 week, you're going to pop a great rating, but after that, it's going to go back to normal again unless you give people something exceptional. They have to give people something exceptional over the long term to turn the Titanic around, and I don't see the Titanic turning around anytime soon. It's been the formula for decades now. Since the end of 2001, it has been mostly a decline.
Yeah. Viewership is higher than Raw, so I guess.
Well, they're on network television. Let me tell you something. If SmackDown's viewership starts to rank lower than Raw's, SmackDown is in danger on the Fox network.
Yeah. Well, at least, I don't know.
All you have to do is have a television and electricity, and you can get Fox. You don't have to subscribe to cable like you do to get the USA Network.
And it's also, still wrestling. You could stream it on that new Peacock TV or whatever the hell that is. But, as I said before, these fans, if you go in the comment section of all these viewership releases and stuff like that, they just shit on it. And it's like, if the product is shit, the viewership's going to be shit. And when you think about it, that viewership is actually pretty good in terms of what else is on USA and Fox and stuff like that. If you look at, regular TV shows, they're not doing this much on a week-to-week basis, especially for this long. In WWE standards, it's low, but a lot of other TV shows wish they could do this much.
I don't think SmackDown is anything to write home about on network television, for better or worse, as far as cable television ratings go. Raw is still one of the highest rated shows on cable TV. It's just unbelievable how it has fallen so much since 2001.
Yeah, I mean, they got the go home show next Friday for Clash of Champions, so we'll see if they get, any boost going into, the big pay-per-view.
One can only hope, because it needs a boost, as I'm yawning right now thinking about it.
Well, maybe they need
a little
some
Monster Energy drink pumped into
They
their
need some.
veins or
They
something.
need some boost oxygen.
Well, I'm still waiting to try a can. Maybe when we have our Clash of Champions watch-along, I can sample it.
You got it.
All right. Well, Prodigy, anything else to add to this hellacious week from the Thunderdome?
No, I'm just looking forward to Clash of Champions.
Well, I'm glad one of the two of us is.
Well,
I know what I look forward to, and that is interacting with the great folks I'm sure that are with us tonight, including Slick Rick B up in Maine, Tony Atlas's neighbor. We're talking about Tina, Tania, Stoney, my good friend Maria Davis, who I will not sing to because it's too early in the morning for me to sing right now. All of the great folks that join us in the chat, we have a heck of a lot of fun. Big Ant from Thunder Valley, J.A. Will, Trigger Trey, there's so many, and I don't take notes to write them down. You got to catch me on a good day to remember them all. For the Prodigy, Matt Degnan, his left and right sock, if he chooses to wear them, I'm Dan Mirade. All weekend long, we got the 10 a.m. clips. Then we're back with a brand new Wrestling Insiders Tuesday night at 9 p.m. The Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, shoots on Roman Reigns' heel turn, the Paul Heyman dynamic, Brock Lesnar is a free agent, and more. If you want to help the cause and bleed Boston Wrestling, baby, head on over to the Patreon, patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Get early, ad-free access to Wrestling Insiders. Stream our studio shoot interview DVD library and help keep the wrestling legends working. Folks, until we speak again, you and yours be well, stay healthy.